A former NXT champion appeared last night on Impact Wrestling on Access TV to the surprise of many people watching. What does this mean? Does this mean that the former NXT champion could be coming into Impact Wrestling on a permanent basis? All this and more in today's Impact Wrestling news. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of Impact Wrestling. Of course, it's SummerSlam weekend. Everyone's in Nashville for StarCast, for SummerSlam, for all of the events, all of the happenings. One name that is in Nashville is the former NXT champion Johnny Gargano, who of course is still without a company, but shockingly last night Gargano made an appearance on Impact Wrestling on Access TV to the surprise of many, certainly myself. When I was watching Impact today, I went, that's Johnny Gargano, that's Johnny Wrestling, what's he doing on Access TV? What's he doing on this episode of Impact Wrestling? Well, it's a very simple explanation, and there's a bit more into it because it got people talking, going, has Gargano made his decision? Of course, we know that AEW's been linked to Johnny Gargano ever since his contract with WWE expired. Now that Triple H is in charge of WWE Creative and, of course, is the Executive Vice President of Talent Relations, Vince McMahon has gone, resigned, retired, whatever. Johnny Gargano could go back to WWE, but now, once he's appeared on Impact Wrestling last night, does this mean he's coming into Impact? Could we see Johnny Gargano competing inside of an Impact Wrestling ring soon in the future? Well, during last night's episode of Impact on Access TV, former NXT champion Johnny Gargano appeared during the broadcast. Now, Gargano didn't appear inside the Impact Zone, he didn't appear inside of an Impact Wrestling ring, he didn't wrestle a match or anything like that, but he did appear via a video, a screen grab you can see of it right there, along with several others, it must be said, and the reason he appeared via video was to praise Alex Shelley. Now, of course, Alex Shelley is competing for the Impact World Championship against Josh Alexander at the upcoming Impact Emergence event. It's the first ever World Championship match that Shelley has competed in, so it's a big event. It's a big match, and I think it's really a celebration of everything that Alex Shelley has done in professional wrestling, and namely Impact Wrestling, of course. So that's what this whole storyline is about. So Johnny Gargano made an appearance on the show via this recorded video message to praise a good close friend of his. Now, in a report via Fightful Select, Sean Rossap has reported, because he saw this like everyone else and went, is there more to this? What's going on here? It's not believed that Gargano is in talks with Impact Wrestling. In fact, Gargano is not in talks with Impact Wrestling, and his appearance was done more so as a favor to a friend. Clearly, either Impact had reached out to Johnny Gargano or Alex Shelley himself had reached out to Johnny Gargano. Not that I think Alex Shelley would do that. That feels slightly odd, doesn't it? Do you want to appear in my tribute package? No, I would have thought it's probably just well known that Johnny Gargano and Alex Shelley are good friends, and from Gargano's perspective, it's doing a favor for a friend, but also keeping his name out there at a time where people are going to start talking about him once again, him being in Nashville for SummerSlam weekend. It's a little bit of that's what Johnny Gargano's doing at the moment, so it works for all parties. Now, of course, Gargano left WWE last December after deciding not to re-sign with the company. His last match with the promotion was at NXT TakeOver War Games 2021. Now, in June, while on Good Karma Wrestling, the former NXT champion did explain why he decided not to re-sign with WWE. He said, quote, I had this guaranteed contract with WWE I could take for a lot of money, and I could come back and I could keep doing what I'm doing, Gargano said. I just knew that with the baby on the way, I didn't want to have anyone else being in control of my time because I'm really only getting one shot at this. Me and Candice only plan on having one kid. So I want to be there. I want to try and experience everything I can with Quill for his first year before I do anything else. Now, as I mentioned, Gargano is in Nashville, Tennessee, the site of SummerSlam this weekend, but also the site and location of StarCast. Gargano is set to be at StarCast 5 in Nashville at the Nashville Fairgrounds. He even has his own panel, that's why he's there, called What's Next? It's an NXT panel, where he will be revealing his future in professional wrestling. StarCast have tweeted, quote, the wrestling world was abuzz last night about Johnny Gargano appearing on Impact Wrestling, and at StarCast, he'll be on stage for a panel that hopes to answer what everyone wants to know. What's next? Now, about what is next for Johnny Gargano, clearly it's not Impact Wrestling, which is a shame. You know, as a fan of Impact Wrestling, as a regular watcher, as someone that covers Impact Wrestling every single day, I try to anyway, certainly every single week here on the channel, of course he would have been a great fit in Impact Wrestling. And in every division possible. Johnny Gargano would be Mr. Impact Wrestling. He could be a fantastic X Division champion and work that more junior heavyweight style in that division. He would be superb in that. And you could imagine him having Ultimate X matches, and incredible matches against the likes of Ace Austin, Chris Bay, Speedball Mike Bailey. I mean, the list could go on and on of the names that he could go and have fantastic matches against in the X Division. In the tag team, look, he's been part of successful tag teams in the past with DIY, with Tommaso Ciampa. So, he could absolutely come in and be a great tag team wrestler. We know his work and his proficiency as a tag team wrestler. If he were to come into Impact Wrestling on a longer term basis, it would be right in the main event, because he would slot in and become, easily one of the, if not the biggest star in the company, most likely, right? And he's the hottest free agent, one of the hotter free agents around right now. And I said this before about Johnny Gargano, and I don't think it's necessarily totally by design, but I think it's worked out very well for him that obviously we've been in a bit of a weird situation in pro wrestling over the course of the last 18 months where there have been more free agents on the market than really ever before. And more of a constant influx of names going into free agency than ever before. Every year or so, because people's contracts expires, people become free agents or are coming into becoming free agents. People get released every single year. It happens. But never to the quantity, the volume that we have seen over the course of the last 18 months because of all the releases by WWE. And what we have seen companies like Impact, like AEW, like MLW, like New Japan Pro Wrestling just constantly snapping up these free agents. And I said at the time that we had seen a few times in AEW, and AEW had made some of their more recent free agent signings that they do sort of miss that big kind of feel, that surprise nature. And the best thing that Johnny Gargano could do is what Bray Wyatt's doing, and is just wait. Just wait. Because eventually the new signings will dry up, and when people do appear in the companies for the first time, it will feel like a big deal. It will feel like a surprise. And we have seen just how much pro wrestling can change in a couple of months, let alone 6 or 9 or 12 months, right? So Johnny Gargano is doing the best thing right now, and that's not committing to anything or anywhere. Now, these words, I might be putting my foot in my mouth, because come the end of SummerSlam weekend, who knows? He might be back in WWE, or he might still have his heart set on going to AEW. We don't know. But I think the best thing he can do is sit on the shelf right now and just kind of see what happens when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. And as he mentioned, it wasn't really out of any big, grand plan for his career. It's more so for him to be there for his child, because he wants to get it right. And I think he is getting it right. You can't substitute time, and you can't take it back, and you can't make up. You can try your best to make up for lost time, but it is what it is. It's lost time. So I credit him for taking the time out to support his family and be there for his family. I think that's absolutely fantastic. But it doesn't look like, as I mentioned, he's going to be appearing in Impact Wrestling in terms of a ring, in terms of a match anytime soon. As to where his future would be, I always suspected that he would go to AEW. I did, and there's been several times where there have been really strong links for him to appear in AEW when they've done shows in Cleveland. And look, it's still a possibility. Maybe he already... Tony Khan has had, and probably does right now, have a lot of secret deals with wrestlers that's just not public. With Claudio Castagnoli, he had a contract with AEW for longer than people kind of realized. Tony Khan revealed it, and the plan was for him to debut at Death Before Dishonor, the recent Ring of Honor pay-per-view. But when Bryan Danielson got injured, Danielson called up Tony Khan and said, well, we can't work. And he said, but I think someone that should replace me should be Claudio. And Tony Khan said, that's great. I've already got him under contract. He's been under contract for a while. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Johnny Gargano isn't under contract to Tony Khan right now, but I don't think he is. The return to WWE is interesting because that's a real possibility. Now, everything's changed when it comes to people that would have previously been written off in WWE. That's all evolved. That's all changed with Triple H. That's all changed with Triple H not only heading up creative but also talent relations. He is arguably the most powerful man in the company right now. I know people are going to talk about the CEOs and the chairwomen, they're powerful people, but by proxy of him being married to the chairwoman and CEO, he's very powerful anyway. Let alone he controls who they hire, who they fire, and what we see on television. That is ultimate power. He controls the narrative of the company. And Triple H can make big decisions that maybe he wasn't able to make before. And having that kind of power, that kind of authority, is the ability to bring someone in, like a Johnny Gargano, who WWE wanted to keep anyway, but bringing him in and go, no, we're going to treat you like a big star. And look what Triple H did for Johnny Gargano in NXT. If anything, I almost felt like he almost outstayed his welcome in NXT, because making that mistake 2018, 2019, going into 2020, but definitely in 2019, Johnny Gargano was red hot as a babyface. I mean, to another level. Now, could he do that on a bigger stage in WWE on the main roster? Big doubts, in my opinion, because it's different. Triple H, and this is my point about Triple H booking WWE as well, is that people romanticize the NXT takeovers and the quality of the NXT takeovers, and that can't be disputed. Those NXT takeovers are brilliant, but people like to forget maybe the bad parts of Triple H's booking. As I mentioned, I listened to and edited a ton of Triple H media and conference calls where he was a salty guy and he was a grumpy guy because people would criticize the product. They would criticize certain aspects of the product because no product's perfect. Triple H, it became slightly formulaic in how he was booking NXT towards the end. He lost the Wednesday Night Wars to Tony Khan. That is factual. That is what it is. And again, I don't think that was an even playing field, to be honest with you, even though it was WWE, because whenever they made a star, they lost them to the main roster. And AEW had bigger stars than NXT. It's a developmental brand versus a brand with the likes of Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, big names, big stars like that. So they never stood a chance, in my opinion. Cody Rhodes as well. So it's going to be interesting. That's all I say. But Johnny Gargano's absolutely got a chance to come back to WWE, and he just might. But one place he isn't going to be is Impact Wrestling, and that's unfortunate. But hey, you never know. If time goes on, and Alex Shelley and more, I don't think Alex Shelley's going to win the Impact World Championship against Josh Alexander at Emergence. I think it's going to be a great match, but I really don't think he's going to win the World Championship by any stretch of the imagination. But you never know. One thing could happen. Maybe Gargano comes in for one match against Alex Shelley in the future. Maybe this is the tease for that. I doubt it. And Sean Ross Sapp is essentially denying it, but anything's possible in the world of pro wrestling. That is certainly the case. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on today's Impact Wrestling news story. What do you expect for Johnny Gargano? Where do you think he's going to end up? WWE again, AEW, possibly Impact Wrestling. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestling News 365, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.